Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the March webinar for the MERLIN European Union Research Project. Today, we are very, very lucky to get Professor Dr. Pedro Mateus de Neves from Portugal, who will talk to us today about PPPs for SDGs and nature-based solutions. Professor Dr. Neves has a degree in mining engineering as well as a doctorate in developmental studies, specifically looking at how to implement partnerships to achieve the SDGs. The research areas that he's engaged in are developmental policies, political economy, institutional innovation, sustainable development, SDGs, impact investment, and I'm only halfway down the list. To give him some time to speak, I will not mention all the universities he's associated with, but it's a paragraph ranging French, Spanish, Italian, Chinese, etc. He's the founder and CEO of Global Solutions for You, based on sustainable development, and he has a consulting firm specializing in SDG issues. And these issues are impact investing, financial innovation, and partnerships for development of cities and regions. Thank you very much, Professor, for joining us today. I will be fielding questions. Please type them into the chat. I will record them and call you in turn. And we should have a good 20-25 minutes of questions, so there will be time to address any of your concerns. Professor Neves, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Astrid and Julia, for putting us together. Can you see the slides? Yes, right? Okay, very good. So thank you for the introduction, and I'll very quickly, basically, again, my experience comes from transformational projects first, investment programs, fundraising, and then now sustainable development policies, which it's very interesting. Creating the rules of the game so that the game can be played, and the game is sustainable development. And this is my footprint, my professional footprint, and I'm always looking for new places and trying to see how different communities around the world are implementing SDGs and learning from each other, because I really believe the best thing for us is peer learning. And now. Okay, so I will do some groundwork so that we can explain, support my arguments for what comes later. And basically, I say my argument is that we have been studying economics, sociology, and environmental studies for over 200 years. And so the father of economics, he says, our motivation is about profit, although obviously Adam Smith has a lot more than just this economic dimension. Emile Durkheim says that we have to bind and to unite. Otherwise, we're going to have social conflicts. And if we have social conflicts, development will not take place. And so Emile Durkheim basically brings the social dimension to development, just like Adam Smith brought the economics dimension. And then John Muir, the founder of Yosemite National Park, he has this phrase I like very much: any fool can destroy trees, they cannot run away. So the balance between man and nature has been a challenge for many, many years. On a different perspective, economic growth has been happening, demographics have been happening as well. But what Hans Rosling, a doctor from Sweden, told us is that the world pin code, we have 1 billion people in Europe, 1 billion people in the Americas, 1 billion in Africa, 4 billion in Asia. This was the world pin code 1114 in 2010. 2050, Africa goes from 1 to 2 and Asia goes from 4 to 5, and then Asia stabilizes, and then in 2100, Africa still grows up to 4. And so basically we have a family of 7. We had a family of 7 in 2010. We have a family of 9 billion people in 2050, and we will have a family of 11 in 2100. But the challenge is it's the most vulnerable areas socially that are growing. And so how are we going to deal with this demographic challenge? And then Gianconvici tells us that, yes, we have growth, but we also have more pollution. So basically the three curves with three different sources are not sustainable. And so we have to find a way. The argument is sustainable development is not a trend. Sustainable development is a need, and we need to address these three dimensions simultaneously. And using the United Nations wording, it is about people, planet, and prosperity all together at the same time. And I think the most interesting thing is that we cannot just deal with sustainable social sustainability or environmental sustainability or economic and financial sustainability. When we talk about sustainable development, we always have to bring the three dimensions at the same time. And so what I defend is that we have development normally associated with economic growth, social cohesion, and planet protection. And then this transforms into sustainable development with the wording people, planet, and prosperity. And from here, we evolve from the 3 Ps, people, planet, and prosperity, we evolve to the 5 Ps, peace, justice, and strong institutions, and partnerships. And basically, if we consider that sustainable development is a game, and it is the new game, we need new rules of the game, or we need to revise the rules of the game. And this is very important because basically we have to accept that we have to go beyond law. We have eventually to redesign the way we are all going to work together. And if the rules of the game are the institutions, then partnerships are the players of the game. And this, the main message is that to play the game, we need rules and we need players. And all of us are the players of the game. And so all of us means involving multiple sectors. I'm going to consider that we have 4 sectors. We have the first sector, the public sector. The second is the private. The third is civil society. And the fourth is academia. And so the whole thing is, how are we going to bring all these 4 sectors together? And this is the initial challenge of having partnerships. So the need for partnerships is actually at the core of SDG implementation. And when we look into public-private partnerships, normally the architecture consists of having a SPV, a special purpose vehicle, a project company that has the color of orange here. And then on one side, we have the capital providers, equity and debt. And I'm not considering grants, although grants would also be within the capital providers. And then we have those that make the transformation and those that operate the asset or the service that is being provided. And we have the government as the maestro. We have the government as the maestro of the public interest. And at the bottom, we have the end user. And so we have the people at the bottom. The point of People-first PPP or PPPs for SDGs is to consider that the end user, the people, actually are on top. And the fact that are on top means that we are going to design, we are going to interpret the problems, and we are going to design solutions and manage the solutions based on what is important for people and for planet. And so we changed the whole thing. So instead of having government deciding, we are basically understanding what people and planet need and how are we going to find solutions. And so we keep the transformers and the operation teams, and we keep the capital providers, but the government is at the bottom. And meaning at the bottom means is in charge of managing public interest, but the common good, actually all parties are involved on managing, on designing and implementing solutions for the common good. So now I'm going to I was asked to develop this off-the-shelf instrument for MERLIN, and I've worked with the team of Connectology on this. And so I'm going to share with you some of the ideas that will, I believe, fairly soon be available to all of you. And so we start the key ideas. It are the SDGs and the concept of imply the concept of PPPs for SDGs, and also called People-first PPPs. And this means that on top of value for money, we need to add value for people and value for planet. So we are not forgetting value for money, which is the basis of traditional PPPs, but we are adding value for people and value for planet. It's also very important to always keep in mind that PPPs are a public investment process, and they are not an objective, but they are the means to an end. So what we want is to enhance communities' quality of life, to protect the planet, and we use PPPs to get there, but they are not an objective in itself. And so NBS, nature-based solutions, PPPs, I'm going to consider that they are integrated as PPPs for SDGs. So nature-based solutions, we would have goals 6 for water, 7 for renewable energy, and then obviously circular economy on goal 12, 13 on climate change, 14 on oceans, 15 on life on land. But I'm going to consider that actually NBS also takes care of the social and the economic dimension. And so the other important thing is that PPPs can generate enough funding to pay back the financing, and we are going to call these ones commercial PPPs. So basically the investment that we have to make, they will be compensated and will be generated by the transformation itself. And then we have other PPPs that where the funds are required and are provided by the public sector. And we are going to call these ones social PPPs. Also very important is that we can have PPPs that are implicit, meaning that we have one goal, one objective, but we have the public sector on one side and the private sector on the other side. And we have explicit PPPs. And the explicit PPPs is on the project company, on the special purpose company, we have the public and the private sector together. And this means that at the board of directors, we have board members that come from the public and board members that come from the private sector. We also have the reasons for PPPs, and normally it's about innovation, financing capacities, and risk management. And this is what we are normally getting and looking for. Considering the future we want, sustainable development principle, I think PPPs for the SDGs, we aim simultaneously for the common good and at the same time for financial return. Now, the aim of the instrument, it is to implement nature-based solutions through PPPs, which requires careful planning, collaboration, and sustainability. Obviously, and again, it implies involving the 3 dimensions of sustainable development And I like to say that nature-based solutions, if they are part of a regional pipeline, then they can be the impact can be highly increased. The potential beneficiaries, again, considering the four sectors, the public servants, the public managers, nature restoration managers, and elected politicians can benefit a great deal from PPPs. The second sector, the private sector, development, asset managers, capital providers. The third sector, I like to say, everybody that lives, that works, or visits the region should benefit. And then at the fourth sector, students, professors, researchers should all benefit. How do they work? How do we put them together? And I think we have 5 steps. And the first step is about conceptualizing. It is about defining a vision. You know, a vision like a dream that is implementable. What is the dream? What do we want for our territory in 2030, 2040, 2050? And so it's a question of discussing this vision, discussing strategies, and transforming these strategies into projects. The second step is about testing. It's about making sure that it is implementable. And this means technology, this means legal, this means finance, this means social, this means environment. And we should test it. Eventually, we should have a pilot project. The third step is about getting contracts on the ground, and contracts can be a handshake, but it should also be transformed into paper, because basically we are creating the conditions. We are agreeing on the rules of the game that the different parties, the four sectors, will have to implement the transformation. The fourth step is about transforming, is about creating the asset, creating the process and implementing it. And the fifth step is about exploitation, is about asset and process management, and is about providing the public service. In terms of operational costs, basically there are a lot of studies that need to be done through PPP or without a PPP. For instance, geological surveys normally are very expensive and they need to be done in any case. One of the characteristics of PPP design and implementation is about engineering and capital expenditure, the CapEx, so the global investment amount that needs to be implemented. Because we are going to ask and involve the private sector, it is very important that the budget is designed, and it is also very important that we have financial experts that understand the need for making the project economic sustainable, but also financially sustainable, and therefore ensure that we have cash flow availability. The same applies with the legal expert. And so involving all relationships between central and local governments, such as permitting, land rights, but also the risks involving the private sector and the relations between suppliers, developers, investors, and lenders. It is also very important that PPPs for the SDGs, they are people-centric, and meaning that a lot of stakeholder engagement and stakeholder management has to be in place. And so we have to listen and we have to involve people, and these represent upfront costs, but they will largely be compensated because the project will become much more resilient. And the same applies to the environmental dimensions. And so the prerequisites for implementation, I would say it's about being solid, flexible, transparent, sustainable public policies focused on the common good. I like to insist on the quality of public policies. It is essential that we have very strong public policies. It is essential that politicians and public servants have the political, local, and national support to make this happen. It is essential to have legal and regulatory environments, and it is mandatory that the process is transparent and we have a great deal of accountability once we are talking about public investment, but I would say public investment with private sector participation. And the fact that we have the private sector being involved, the accountability becomes even more important. The private sector normally has a lot of appetite for innovation, which enhances productivity, but it's also important that all the social and environmental aspects are incorporated on the not only on the transformational phase, but also on the asset management phase. And the environmental perspective, I would say it's obviously associated with the common good, but it's also associated with long-term and shared prosperity. And this is crucial. So we are not just making a transformation or creating an asset or a process that has a 5-year term or a 10-year term. It will be for the long term. How do we put this together? So as I was mentioning, at the core, it is the people. And so the people has to be able to communicate and involve the public sector. So the central government, the PPP units, the court of auditors are essential. And once this is in place, then we involve the private sector and we create the project company. We have the capital providers in red, and then we have in yellow the developers, the operators, the designers, the technology, and very important, we have the academia also making sure that the knowledge that is being created, because every PPP creates value and should create value, but definitely creates knowledge, and the knowledge keeper, the best knowledge keepers is the academia. So basically, we are going to have to put this into practice. We need visions and strategies. We have to ensure that trust is in place. Social capital is trust, so we have to bring trust. We have to choose the right partner or partners. We have to set the governance model, and we have to set the team. And the team is essential. So people that are willing to work with other people and learn from other people and understand that there is a common good. Some of the best practices that I believe we can bring to the table. The aligning nature-based solutions with people-first principles, participatory planning, co-design, co-construction. I also like to say co-writing. You know, I'm now doing voluntary local reviews in a number of municipalities. And it's not just about getting people together, it's also about people writing together and then implementing together. And so this co-design, co-construction is essential. It is also very important that we move from ideology into science and evidence-based design, modeling scenarios, optimizing the impact of NBS, aligning objectives with environmental and social goals, improving local livelihood and resilience, aligning projects with climate goals, circular economy, water management, enhancing innovation, transparency, equitable financing, valuation of natural capital. This is one of the things that we all need to work together, because we don't have figures for natural capital, and we have to bring natural capital as well as human capital into development economics. The use of financial incentives, good governance, and I would say we are always trying and improving governance models, aligning local projects with national and regional policies, transparency, fundamental thing: equip local communities. People that come from the outside, we have to make sure that when we are not there, local communities are the ones that are going to keep the project going. And so it is in local communities' engagement and involvement is crucial. This happens, and SDG and NBS awareness campaigns are essential. On-site peer-to-peer learning. The good thing about PPPs and SDGs is that we are always learning one from others, and we like to learn peer-to-peer. Risk management, operation and maintenance has to be in place, and also, we have now this new concept of next generations, the babies that are not yet conceived, and they are it is for them. So in terms of KPIs, and I like to be very, very pragmatic in terms of KPIs, I think when we talk about social impact, we have to talk about the number and quality of local job creation. And we have to talk about poverty alleviation. How are we improving the life of communities? We have to talk about carbon footprint. We have to talk about reduction of material use, water management, the biodiversity protection. Obviously, we have to keep in mind the economic impact. And so all the traditional PPP KPIs, revenue generation, return on investment, funding utilization, debt service, and then very important, the governance of impact. How decisions are taken, how are the local players involved, and how are we going to keep all this going? To finalize, I'm just going to, I brought to here, and eventually some of you even know the project. I was seeing that some of the attendees are involved with the WWF. And so the Danube River Basin is one case study that I shared, very obvious one. The other one that I think it's less obvious, but I believe it's very important, and there are some key messages that I wanted to share with you. It's the Thames Tideway Tunnel, the TTT, and some of the ideas I liked very much. And at the beginning, they considered that the bills, water bills in London, they would go up 80 British pounds. And actually, they managed through a very innovative way of governance to increase only to 20-25 British pounds per year. Now, what is very important is that we are improving the environment, and we are improving the environment, but we are letting stakeholders and taxpayers know that this will have a cost. And we are going to involve them, and we are going to make the project economic and financially sustainable, because everybody understands that actually this cost needs to be supported. I think one of the, this is a very complex project, and initially too much finance was needed, and even the UK government had little appetite to underwrite all these risks, and it's very interesting. So not even the public sector alone considered that the project was strong enough, and it was this cooperation with the private sector that allowed for this process to be put together. The other thing that I believe is important is the initial social return on investment concluded that for every £1 British spent, the social benefit is 3.19. And so it's very interesting, the capital multiplier applied to social returns. And also very important, again, in terms of institutional innovation, the alliance framework that was created. And so basically everybody felt that they were members of the alliance rather than members of the institution or the organization that they were with when they started the project. Again, the collaborative delivery team culture that was created, and the need for flexibility, and this is only possible when we have rules of the game that are flexible enough for people to cooperate. And I think this is very important. Following Jean-Jacques Rousseau perspective, people can be very good, and if we motivate them well, this can be very good. And so basically, my last comment is that the future we want, which is the principle for sustainable development, depends on how we work together today. And thank you. And I think I have managed for 30 minutes, Jan.
We hate to rush you, but thank you very much, Pedro. Occasionally, we have a historic moment when someone's presentation is so clear that absolutely no questions arise so far. And so we have to thank you for that, though maybe we give everybody a moment to, since there's quite a waterfall of information has come by us, beautifully and very clearly presented, but 100, if I had the liberty, I would have at least 20 questions. But I'll take the liberty as the moderator until someone steps up to ask a question. I'm a systems ecologist working at landscape scale on communities dealing with climate change, flooding and drought, wildfire, that sort of thing. We have seen over my 40 years of research experience that you can have solutions which you are doing the right thing, but getting very negative results for 5 or 6 years before the system, the reinforcing feedback start to come in. Very simplest example, switch from conventional to organic farming. You can often have a period of 4 or 5 years with extremely unpredictable results. And how do you get through that transition period when you're getting signals that tell you that you're doing the wrong thing, but actually you're doing the right thing? Do you have experience with this?
Yes, and yes, Jan, and I think this happens a lot. And the thing is, we have been trained to design solutions for traffic jams. We have been trained to design solutions for power cuts. We have not yet been trained to design solutions for climate change, and this is a process that we need to learn. I think while doing research in Japan, I was very much impressed with their approach. They do not look for one vision; they have multiple visions. For each vision, they need to have strategies, multiple strategies, and for the strategies, they have projects. And I think what is important is this community work on the vision. And I think we have to be humble to position the vision somewhere down the line. And somewhere down the line can be 5 years, 10 years, 30 years down the line. And I think that when we have this vision and when we have the community embracing the vision, I think then we have, again, the motivation. That's why I brought in this second case study. It's when people understand that actually I like to say that the common good goes beyond public interest. So it is for the common good. We all gain from changing the way we do farming. I think we all need to change. We have to be very honest. We will need to change the way we educate. The way people look into cell phones today. We have to review the whole thing. Vertical knowledge silos. We have to see how we're going to break these knowledge silos. We have to see the way we are going to manage water. We have to see the way we manage solid waste. Going from linear to circular economy. We, in all these phases, in all these SDGs, SDG 12, circular economy, climate change, oceans. We have to look down the line, and I think the SDG awareness is good, but I think we have to be more. We have to be tougher on ourselves. More than raising awareness, we have to decide. We have to start deciding how to co-design, how to co-fundraise, how are we going to co-implement, and even show the benefits and anticipate some of the benefits. And one thing that I believe is very important, and again, the example of the TTT in London is very good, is to accept that once we start implementing a certain strategy, we are going to have some problems. And because we are going to have some problems, we are going to redefine, we are going to need to redefine strategies. And this is very beautiful, because on one hand, we are talking about complex problem solving, and we should be humble to accept that eventually complex problem solving is going to imply complex problem solutions, and this means that we will have to learn from each other. And we have, the beauty is that we have we need, that's where the peer learning is so important. And I was looking into some of the MERLIN case studies, and I really was impressed, because you are collecting a lot of case studies, and you are collecting, and I like to think that these types of meetings is also for us to learn about each other, and designs and methodologies. I like to consider that PPP and PPP for SDGs is institutional innovation. And so it's not about the science itself, it's about the social and economic sciences coming together to innovate ways to cooperate.
So I would just add as an addendum that what you said about redesigning in progress is exactly what was done in some BOKU-led research on the Drau River in Austria, where they set up long-term goals that they knew weren't quite achievable, then short-term achievable goals, which they revised almost every year as the research project went forward. So the research informed how they changed their short to medium term goals. And it was a very successful renovation of the Drava River, also known as the Drau, if you speak German. Anyway, I am still the lonely person who asked a question. Astrid, maybe I will ask another 6 unless somebody jumps in. So please don't let me do that. Astrid, do you have a question, or anyone else?
No, I was just wondering what the case study about the Danube was about, because you did not elaborate too much on this. So maybe you can.
Yes. Again, I was looking for, but now from Jan, I already understood you have plenty of case studies. This case study on the Danube River Basin. Let me put the slide back on. And by the way, I'm always collecting case studies for United Nations Economic Mission for Europe. And Jan, it would be great if I could, if then you could also share the link about the project that you mentioned, because I really believe that we are now, one of the challenges is on case studies. It is about how are we improving and adjusting, and it's very tough, because we a lot of times we have legal contracts that are they're very hard to make adjustments. And now what we see is that we need to have legal frameworks that indeed are flexible. and this is not always always obvious. And so in this case, the Danube River Basin, you probably know the case study. It's the the Danube River Basin, and 2,800 kilometers from the Black Forest to the Black Sea, and 83 million people living on the basin, 20 million depending. And then the problem is, in the past 150 years, Danube Basin and its wetlands have been abused a lot. Dikes, dams, cuts, bank fixation, and the effects have been wide-ranging. And so in this case, WWF, CE, and Coca-Cola foundations got together to improve this challenge. I think the most important thing for me, it really is about how we bring people together, and I would say, how do we identify the problem? How do we think we are going to design a solution, and which partners are we going to involve? And then I think it was interesting. I was speaking with Julia just before we started, and she was telling me about the challenge of moving from grants financing into private sector financing. And I think the challenge really is to what is the purpose, what is the vision, and how are we going to transform a vision and a purpose into a tangible objective? If a vision can be a tangible dream, then we have to transform the tangible dream into an objective. And the objective, then we have to see how are we going to fundraise for this objective to take place. And if the return on investment is a financial return, then I would say it's fairly easy for capital providers to step in. The challenge is when the project does not provide financial return. And then I would say the second thing is about understanding what is the social return and the environmental return. And so human capital in terms of natural capital. These are two things that I believe we need to incorporate. So what type of value are we creating? Because we are always creating value. The question is, how are we quantifying the value that we are creating? But even then, a lot of times, we have to find parallel projects with financial return and associate the financial returns from secondary projects, let's say, into the main project. And this is very interesting because then eventually we have to move from a project approach to a program approach. And when we move into a program approach, eventually we have to see, or we need to see, how I like to say cash positive projects can finance the non-cash positive part of the program. And this is I believe very, very positive. So in this case, I would say that the benefits for the likes of Coca-Cola participating in the project, they are not directly associated with the financial returns Coca-Cola takes from the project, but it does take of the value it generates for the brand and the perception people have. And this is very important. So how are we going to create value? So I would say vision, strategy, and value creation. And then within the value creation, it's about understanding the architecture of value creation, so that we have so that we can find a solution for to finance the project, because at the end the whole thing, it really is about financing. Well, not the only thing, but the one key aspect about project implementation is about financing the transformation. But very important, and this is something that worries me very much, is that a lot of times these projects, they get financed for the transformation to take place, but they are not financed for the maintenance and the operation of the project to be kept. And so we do something that looks very good, and we cut the ribbon and we are very happy, but then we do not have the means to keep the project alive as it was supposed to. And so not only we have to find solutions to finance the transformation, but we also need solutions to finance the operation and maintenance. And this is something very, very important that we need to do.
So to your request, I will contact Susanne Muhar, who led the DRAO project, to see if she has some summary of the case study to forward to you. And I would only add to what you just said, if we consider life cycle costing analysis versus the way most people invest, which is, can I afford to make the monthly payments? In other words, there are a lot of things investing in a solar house or an electric car, which makes sense only if you look over 20, 30 years. But what you're
Yes.
talking about is, do you get the cash flow in time that investors are pleased after 5 years? You know, in other words, can we step in at the project? Anyway,
Yes, but
we
Jan,
do, yes?
let me just compliment here, because I think it's very important. What we need is also, you know, traditional investors. They look for, as you said, for a 5-year return, but pension funds, they look for a return that is much longer. And so one of the things that eventually we need to put together is to overcome this fundraising to primary investors and go to secondary investors, you know, to institutional investors. And I believe that, you know, we don't have that in Europe too much, but I believe that if we go to the Canadian Professors Pension Fund and we present some of these projects, I truly believe that they will be willing to get involved. And so I think also the way we fundraise projects, we really have to go beyond, and we have to be innovative on the way we look for sponsors.
So I could go on, but actually someone has asked a question, and that is Naila Kamerji. It said, thank you for your insightful presentation. Is the blended finance considered as a PPP?
Wonderful, wonderful, Nadia. I like to say that the blended finance is a financial PPP. So it's a way of capital providers to get together to finance a project, and this is very important. You know, I've been now involved on a water PPP project in Angola, in different locations, small size cities, and if each city has to finance its own scheme, it's going to be very expensive, and probably it's not going to take place. But if we have a blended finance scheme, so a financial PPP that covers multiple cities, then the PPP on each city will be done locally, focused on transforming and maintaining rather than looking for the finance. And so it's very important. And blended finance, yes, definitely blended finance can be part of a PPP, or in my opinion, it is a PPP in itself. So it's about how are we going to create a partnership between local, central, federal capital, and debt capital, equity, and grant capital, and how are we going to put all this together? And this is essential, and this is something that you know, I think this is something that we need to bring in. So if we look into nature-based solutions by themselves, eventually we are going to have a funding gap. If we consider that part of the nature-based solution, it is finding financial solutions to implement it, then I think we are going to accelerate these type of projects. And for this type of solutions, blended finance is a must. And it's not just now very important. The question is not only to get different types of capital providers involved. It's also about engagement, and it's also about empowerment. You know, the local municipality, if they have some skin in the game, they will be a player, and they will look for the results, and they will manage the project, even if their stake is very small. But it's very important that local skin in the game is part of the solution.
So, still no other question. I'm stretching things out here to give people every chance to ask a question. I would just add to your previous comment that at IIASA, where I work, the International Institute of Applied Systems Analysis, the long-term investor who has looked most closely at climate change is the reinsurance industry, Munich Re and Swiss Re. And they have been looking at climate change, fire-related risk, flood-related risk before anybody. So there are long-term investors who are very concerned because they're the first hit.
Yeah.
And when I try to educate people in the US about the dangers, I'm saying, look at all the places the insurance industry is leaving because the risk has gotten too big. We already have close to 1 million people who have left the coast of the eastern coast of the United States on the Atlantic Ocean because of climate change. Right? So the impacts are there. It's just the only long-term investors looking at it is the reinsurance industry.
Yes.
Well, I'm going on and still no questions, but we are coming to the end of the hour. Astrid, maybe we can tie this up with this very nice presentation. I guess we are. So it's getting to the end of the hour then. Thank you very much. I promise you I will try to forward you that information about the case study on the Drava River, and direct other friends of mine I know who might have case studies that you'd be interested in.
And all the MERLIN case studies can be found on the MERLIN website. There we have a case study portal. I put a link into the chat so you can also check if something is of interest, and then we could put you in touch with the case study leaders if you want.
I have a request as well, Astrid and Jan. It is for when people present case studies, please ask them to incorporate a financial or business structuring chapter, so that we understand not just in terms of traditional sciences, how the project was put together, but also in terms of financing, where did the money come from and how are we going to pay it back? I think this will be very, very interesting for us.
Yeah, as an American from the Watergate, the main rule was follow the money. So that's how we figured Watergate out. Unfortunately, the person I have to ask at Boku is retired, so I'm hoping that she put in financial aspects. We'll see what I can find. Yep. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much, Astrid. The next, I don't have it. The next webinar for MERLIN is
it is on the 7th of April. And I still hope to get someone from the Mediterranean talking about restoration and nature-based solution in this area and the problems that they face there in the light of climate change. But it's not secured yet, but it will be on the website as soon as possible. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a good day. See you in a month.